It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Friday, firearms technology and the gun industry. On Friday's show, it's not just the new gizmo or latest model. We talk about companies, the industry, where we came from, and what's next in materials, technology, and design.
There we go. There, now we'll do this again. Welcome everybody to our weekly wrap-up. We can be live on Fridays to talk about what was focused on our Second Amendment this week. We leave a description in the video. I guess I should open up the video here. So we're paying attention to this, or we're watching the screen here. We're screen sharing, and I use about a third to a quarter of the screen for the comments, so people that are joining us live are part of the show. Feel free to leave some comments, be part of the show over here. And we have a poll going, so another way that you can participate in the show if you're following along live is to use the poll over here. And the question we start off with usually is, how was this week 428? Was it a great week, good week, an okay week, or whatever? So it was actually a really good week. A lot of stuff going on. It was actually late getting started here because I was just cramming so much stuff into the post over here. So when we're looking at the description of this video, that's where most everything is. However, what I ran into this week, and I've done this before, is I've run into the 5,000 character limit that YouTube gives us for the description of the video. For whatever reason, YouTube puts that 5,000 limit. So I post over on Patreon, which I use like a blog, and it gives us a more interesting visual, and I can put in headings and things, so links and everything else. So a little easier to deal with. So that's what we'll be watching on the screen here as we go down and take a look at all the stuff that we've been paying attention to this week that's focused on Second Amendment in various ways. So again, really good week this week. I'm not going to be able to get this done before Gizzard corks me. He after corks me. There's a guy that does a live chat after this show, and I won't be able to get finished before that one because there's a lot of stuff going on this week, and it's all good. So I don't go live and just shout out my friends or anything. I go live and attempt to give people a summary of what's worth listening to, what was important, and not the urgent headline grabbing stuff, nor the repetitive stuff, and definitely not the stuff that's selling you anything. So let's dig in. Actually, before we dig in, I'm going to take a minute here, run a commercial, and get something to drink. I got all rushed here and I didn't get nothing to drink, and I want something to drink. So I'm going to, oh, you know what? We're just going to play this again. Thanks, DJ.
Friday, firearms technology and the gun industry. On Friday's show, it's not just the new gizmo or latest model. We talk about companies, the industry, where we came from, and what's next in materials, technology, and design.
So thanks again to DJ for doing the intros there for me. So let's get into it. Let's see who's all out there saying hello. Makojo was the first one to show up. Barbecue is out there. DJ is out there, as is Patriot. So welcome everybody. Thanks for jumping in. And let's get into it. So first off, Crump was on the Locked and Loaded Latino show. So they go live every Sunday. It's pretty much the best live show you're going to get that's focused on 2A. There's lots of other shows that are out there that are focused on 2A, but not too many of them are live, and none of them are consistent. So it was a good one, and yeah, it was a while ago, so I need to leave more notes. What I would recommend, especially when I don't have time like this show, is over on our YouTube channel, what I've been doing partially so that if I ever need to remember what happened on that show, and also to create some more keywords, is on the community tab when I post a heads up for a show. For example, this one that we're looking at, eventually we'll get back to the one that was the alert for Locked and Loaded having Crump on. So that would be many days ago. So we're going to have to scroll back a bit. We can use this one as an example. So Crump had Fudd Busters on. And if I would ask a question in the chat, I would post it here as a reply to my post. And sometimes they answer them, sometimes they don't. And every once in a while, I'll put something over here that I don't actually ask live because it might disrupt the flow or not be appropriate. But I put them in here as notes. So I figure this is leaving some keywords out there. If somebody does read this ever, gives them a little different spin on the conversation or whatever. So if I went back and looked at the notes from this one, I know I did do that for the Locked and Loaded show earlier this week. I also could probably go back and leave my comments as comments to their video after it renders, but I'm not that ambitious. Next up is Suicide Prevention Saturday. Brooke Cheney does a consistent focus on suicide prevention. This is a firearms channel. So what are we talking about? So this is 2 out of 3 deaths that have anything to do with the firearm are suicides. Those are obviously lumped in whenever they suggest that our property is the fault of all the violence in the world. So there's multiple reasons why that's a jump in logic or a misuse of the numbers. So a way to have a better conversation with the people that are under that not understanding it correctly or intentionally trying to confuse things is to be better at the conversation. And Brooke offers a consistent, efficient look at that or focus on that. So this show was 20 minutes and it was what have you done for yourself, with the idea that self-care is important as well as helping other people. There's also more to it. And again, if you go back and look at the comments, there's usually quite a bit of interaction with these live shows. Now we get to the reload. So a blog/podcast from some researchers, and they had on Alan West, who is now running against Wayne LaPierre for Grand Poobah of the NRA. And this is the best, most effective or efficient, the least annoying interview I've listened to on the subject. So the reload guy asks good questions and Alan answers the questions. And I get the impression that Alan is willing and frustrated enough with his experience with the NRA to be willing to run against Wayne LaPierre, but he doesn't seem super ambitious to do so, which is, I think, what most people ask for, that quality in a representative, or in this case, someone who's offering service in a leadership role. So we have an opportunity with the NRA annual meetings next weekend, except the exhibits are also happening, and that's where most of the distraction will go. So this was a great conversation. If you are interested in hearing the real deal about what's going on with NRA and any potential challenge to the Wayne and a couple of people that are causing all the trouble and allowing all the people that have no interest in working or fighting for it, excuse to sit down and do nothing. Alan offers a real perspective on that. And this reload is about an hour, 54 minutes, and it's about a half talking about that and then a half talking about some other things. As I put in here, I actually put some notes this week. The best insight I have seen yet on the situation on NRA and West's reasons for throwing his hat in the ring. So there you go. So a couple weeks back, I learned about Cape GunWorks, and I've been watching their live shows ever since, and they continue to impress me. They do a lot of interesting stuff in different ways and have enthusiasm and actual insight when people call in. They're not just trying to shuffle them off the phone or get them to buy something really good, interesting, and fun show to listen to. And they do quite a few different. They fill in on other people's podcasts. They do segments on other people's radio shows, and they do their own podcast that gets turned into a nationally syndicated radio show. And again, I think it's definitely a good ambassador for gun ownership, the shop itself, and then Toby's ability on the live stuff. Again, it's live, so no scripts, and it's real. You can't fake it when you're live. I guess somebody could try to make a script for stuff like that, but it's not going to happen. Not with somebody who's incompetent would never be able to read a script. Let's see. They're really doing it over Memorial Day weekend? Yeah, unfortunately. So they think it's cool, and they think it's somehow a tribute, but Alan West even said he's not going to be there because it was ridiculous for them to do it on Memorial Day. Let's see. So then we get Fudd Busters is this lawyer from Firearms Policy Coalition, was on with Crump. It's all we get. So when Fudd Buster guy is on by himself, he's okay. When he's on with We Like Shooting guy, he gets real sarcastic. And when he's on with Crump, he's also pretty sarcastic. Seemed like he was hungover or something on this particular interview as well. So I do like the Fudd Buster guy when he is on point, but this particular show isn't one of my favorites. Then we get Eye on the Target Radio. I definitely left some comments during this one. They had a couple of different conversations. Interesting now that I've been watching Eye on the Target Radio. I'd be curious what y'all think if you're following Eye on the Target or if you've been following Eye on the Target. It's sort of like hunting and competition shooting and, I don't know, something else, maybe gun shows and shooting ranges. Everybody's into guns, but not everybody's into all of that stuff. In fact, very few people are into all of that stuff. Some people like this or that, but they can't stand this, or they're okay with these three things, but there's just no way they're ever going to try that. So doing a live radio show entails a lot of sitting around and waiting and a lot of extra things that happen, I guess you could say, like all the different station breaks and plugs. There's hard breaks they can't go over because they're on a bigger time schedule or a bigger clock. And those things make their live show a little clunky and a little weird. And I'm hoping that as I will follow them, that they'll incorporate some changes to their show, right? To evolve that, because right now it's been pretty stagnant. Most of the feedback I get from Eye on the Target is it's difficult to watch. And they only really talk for, if it's an hour-long show, hour and two, it's an hour, 2 hour-long show, they probably only talk for an hour of that show. There's a good hour of it that you're just waiting for filler time. And since all of that's boilerplate, it is pretty difficult. So what I like to do is, since this is on a Sunday evening, is I'm usually listening to something else at the same time and then pause this one or mute the volume on it until they come back and listen to something else. It doesn't entail, shuffling or juggling volumes and stuff. But let's move on. So then you have Holly Sullivan, who is the female president of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League. I say that because she's the only female in the role of president of a state level organization at this point. So she did a testimony to I think this was the Connecticut. But actually that does look like a plain old, that little thing. Maybe they bring their own thing. So I was going to say that looks like the same thing that they had at federal Congress. But wherever this was, I actually don't even know. But it was a pretty decent 5-minute testimony or testimonial, and there's a lot in there. It is definitely dense with info, but well presented, and hopefully it's effective. Again, the people and the person who are presenting it adds to it in a big way. Let's see. So then we get to just a little note there. When they put in here, see, they go, Holly Sullivan, DC Project Advisory Board member and something director, testified today to protect our Second Amendment. Well, they don't realize because they're not paying attention to their YouTube thing, but YouTube doesn't put the date on there, and not all platforms put the date. They'll say a relationship thing. They'll say last week, 2 months ago, stuff like that. They'll have some sort of time designation from the present, but they often don't have a date because for whatever reason. So when I changed it, or when I copy and pasted it, I went ahead and changed it where it says testified today to testified, and I put the date, May 18th. Just a little thing that you can do when you're trying to get the message out or trying to get the word out. You're trying to archive things, pick things up that people are putting down on temporary social platforms and put them in a more permanent place on the internet so that they're, there's carbon copies and carbon copies that might last a little longer. If you're doing that work, you might as well take the extra moment to make it specific so that whoever might in the future need to do this research or is doing the research, it makes it a little bit easier for them. And the robots that are combing the internet, it gives them more things to grab onto and more ways to plug all this into the big, everything. All right, so next we get the Get Off My Lawn podcast is back after a bit. And they just talked about, kind of general chat about changes over the last couple of years, I guess. You have Riding Shotgun with Charlie, who teamed up with Meet the Pressers, a cop, and some other guy, that they show up, and Charlie and the guy from Meet the Pressers, Matt, show up and interview together someone who they both already interviewed separately. So you get a second interview from both of them, and a sort of a tag team interview format, which is pretty interesting. In fact, the show that I was just listening to before this started is called The Team House, and that's the same kind of concept where they have two interviewers and one interviewee, and it just allows a different dynamic than putting all the pressure on two people's shoulders. Now you got three people's shoulders. So this one was interesting, I guess, but not my favorite of all of them. They were mostly just talking about self-defense and training and awareness and stuff. When you listen to this show particularly, they have some kind of sponsor who puts out a $250 SIRT pistol. That's some kind of electric BB gun that people use nowadays for training, and they're $250, and you win one every time you listen to that show. Well, let me word it differently. You will win one every time you listen to that show. Wait, no, that's not the way to say it. But basically, there's a $250 thing given away for you, or should I say to you, every time you listen to that show. Then you get to Gun Owners Radio. I listened to this one. It's from California, and sometimes it's interesting, but it's on at the same time as something else, and I'm trying to remember what the other thing. I think it's on at the same time as Amanda Suffolk's show, Eye on the Target. And because they're both on, I bounce back and forth between them. And to be honest, it's mostly California focused, and they're definitely talking about their gun prom. So I wasn't really listening to this one this week, although I do bounce over there. And if I hear something, especially if the Eye on the Target is being boring, I'll jump over to that one and post a comment or something about what they're talking about. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did post a comment about something, and they played it on the air, which is kind of cool. So then we get to Washington gun law. He's talking about how the ATF will enforce the new pistol brace rule. Yeah, what are you going to do? So then next you get the, it looks like I forgot to, they didn't title their video, so I couldn't put a title in here, but the Virginia Citizens Defense League, which was the first of the Citizens Defense Leagues. Then people from Virginia moved to Arizona, were frustrated that we didn't have one, so they created the Arizona Citizens Defense League, modeled completely after the Virginia Citizens Defense League. So anything you've seen our Arizona Citizens Defense League do, which is a lot of things, They are from Virginia, except for Charles. All 5 of them were from, 4 of the 5 were from Virginia. And then Charles was out here. And then they all just modeled the Virginia Citizens Defense League stuff and erased Virginia and put in Arizona, and just did that here, except kind of maybe better. And then, you know, we have constitutional carry and a whole bunch of other things thanks to them. So Virginia Citizens Defense League is the shit. And unlike our Citizens Defense League here in Arizona, which is scared of the internet and is feeble when it comes to the internet and scared of the internet, the Virginia Citizens Defense League is the opposite. They are strong on the internet, and they're capable on the internet, and they really do good stuff. One, they use the internet the way the internet should be used, especially for two-way activism. They have their meetings online on real platforms that aren't hidden, nothing behind weird walls or nothing, no weirdness. And even with their mic issues or, you know, a weird camera thing or something once in a while, they still get a ton of stuff accomplished. During all the business, they were able to do like a parade style, what do they call their Virginia Capitol Rally Day or something? I forget what they call their Virginia thing, but they schedule that each year. It's impressive. They've resisted tyranny. They've pushed for good stuff. They have a good time while they're doing it. Nobody really gets into weird. I mean, they're just doing it in a great way. Really cool. And they do it in front of everybody. And they have mistakes all the time. Not all the time, but they'll have mistakes and they don't care. They'll just have the mistakes and keep going, which is amazing because so many organizations I know personally from experience, the ones I have experience with, will be paralyzed, will be literally self-cemented because they're scared to look bad. And Virginia Citizens Defense League accomplishes while looking good and bad because they just are worried about getting the goals done. It's awesome. One of my favorite groups to listen to. So they were chatting about how it's coming up to be Father's Day. And if you've got a father or you are buying something for dudes, or I'm not a biologist, whatever the hell you're buying stuff for, they were talking about getting a Virginia Citizens Defense League membership a bunch over and over again. And I was like, are you kidding me? Not only is Virginia Citizens Defense League, all the other things I just said, awesome, but their merch is pretty awesome too. So let's go over and take a look at their merch actually. So they've got a couple of cool things going on with their merch. One is their patches. So you can get a regular size patch and you can get a smaller patch. They're $4 or $5. I know they're too cheap. So feel free to give them more money when you buy them because they should be raising funds. But what they're actually doing is giving these patches out basically wholesale. Then you can get these big orange Gun Saves Lives. So Gun Saves Lives is Alan Corwin put a bunch of effort into making Gun Saves Lives a thing, and then everybody ripped it off, and Alan Corwin don't care. So here you go. You can get these big orange patches. They say Gun Saves Lives. Now let's talk about big. 10 inches. A 10-inch patch. That's unheard of. That's unprecedented. That's the kind of patch that a motorcycle gang has on the back of their jacket. You can get one that says Gun Saves Lives, or you can get their cool Virginia Citizens Defense League patch, which is freaking awesome. So boom, right away, I already knew like they have good merch and it's economical, super cheap. I'm super cheap, and that is good prices. Where are we going? Back to here. So while they were having their chat, I said, hey, logo merch would be awesome gifts, and they help spread the word for the VACDL. People can always use a new patch for their range bag or at the cubicle or at the door of the gun safe, maybe on the headliner of your vehicle. Grab a bunch. And then they went, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So boom, if you're thinking something while you're watching something, type in there. You know what happens? The mechanism appreciates it. Al Gore is fed. He's happy. He's appeased. So he starts to make things happen. But the human beings on the other end, they see what you type, and every once in a while they read it. And every once in a while that goes, oh, and it registers with them. And then you're participating in this whole internet thing. It's amazing. So I highly encourage you to do it. So it's all about. It is what it's all about. All right, so next up is that Washington gun law again. I was talking about what really is constitutional carry. I'll tell you what. We have a lawyer here in Arizona, Attorneys for Freedom. We have attorneys in California, well, I guess there's one in California, but we have them in Texas, the armed attorneys. we've got this guy in Washington gun law, and then you got all the exploitists who came along and made a bunch of money watching the different court cases, and they're probably still watching court cases. So you got some that are in the game, and then you got some that came to the game recently, and then you got some that are Johnny come lately. So I don't know where I'm at with this Washington gun law. Be interested to hear what people from Washington are thinking. Kind of gets on my nerves, but he's also giving out decent info. But he's kind of on my nerves. So I'm interested in what people think. And that, I mean that because he says, this is the way it is. And I'm like, well, what if, no, it ain't. What if that way it is? Like, you're just saying it's the way that is, but that ain't the only way it can be. And you're just not even, like, there's no conversation. He's just saying that's the way it is. And then the video's over. Too used to having conversation, too used to having some back and forth to iron things out. So to me, it's a little bit, I don't like it. All right, so next we get Jared over there doing a couple of different videos. First one he did was the FFL revocations are up 500%, and he's calling the alarm, you know, letting people know, hey, the shenanigans, whatever, the BS that's happening right now with the executive branch is using their abilities to regulate their own entities, right, to boss their own divisions around. And they told the ATF, go be mean to gun shops. So there's this war in FFLs right now. We're seeing it with the new rules that are happening, and we're seeing it more importantly in the consequences of the enactment of existing rules. So without even new rules coming into play, we're seeing a 500% increase in the number of FFLs that are disappearing, that are being told you can no longer have a license. Now, if it was 1 and it went to 5, that would be 500%. So first off, screw everybody who's just regurgitating the 500%. That's sensationalist. If they're going to put 500% to be legitimate, they need to put, 500% in a scale. Is it 5,000 and it went to 25,000 or whatever? But that's a big deal. If it's 5 and it went to 25, then that's not a big deal in a country of 360,000 million people. So we need to know a little bit more about that. Mainly I posted that earlier in the week because Jared was just catching up with Machine Gun Nest, the gun shop in Maryland, who already reported on that last week as of FFL. And because they're not worried about nothing, they're just posting updates all the time. They got it out quicker. So basically I was just saying, hey, Jared's doing his thing, and he's got that, I guess, 481,000 subs, 500,000 subs, which is pretty awesome considering he doesn't really put out garbage. He only puts out alerts and news, kind of nerd stuff. So that's a lot of viewers, a lot of people that are following that. But he's late, he's late to the game. Now, he might have been busy, whatever. I don't judge him. I'm just saying that's the thing. But then he does this one on the Firearms Licensing Act. And if you're going to go, oh, that guy's got 100 or 500,000 subs, he must be just saying the sky's falling on. He's saying everything's the worst case scenario, because there's some of them that do that. Well, I'm watching this video, and within the first minute of a 10-minute video, Jared is like, this is garbage, this is fake. So, he's not leading people on. He's not sky is falling. He's just like, hey, here's another thing. I got to talk about it because it's out there, but here's all the reasons why it ain't a thing, which is what you'd expect from somebody who's actually giving you the weather report and not trying to get you to buy umbrellas or something, right? So kudos to Jared on that. Let's see. So I'm going to clean my glasses off. Hold on, I'll be done in a second. Then we get to, all right, now we're going back to Crump. So Mark Jones. Did anybody watch the Mark Jones thing? I'll tell you what. GOA, they're, you know what I mean? They're like right in the middle. They're not 100%. They're definitely not what do they call it? No compromise. That's fake. They compromise. I don't know about this hunting thing. They put this guy on Crump, and I don't know if he's ever been on a podcast before, but it's not that Crump asks hard questions, but if somebody's never answered questions before and you ask questions, it's pretty much obvious that they've never answered questions before or never even considered what you're being asked questions about. So do I have any confidence in the Gun Owners of America's hunter outreach? No. Is it because of Mark Jones? No. It's because of GOA. And Mark Jones didn't do anything to change my mind about it. And then the interview, I don't know. So nobody's saying that they watched it. I don't know if it's worth watching it for an hour or not. We do need outreach to hunters, but we don't need any waste of time. Let's put it that way. All right, next we're getting to Medical Monday, why your cool guy colors suck. So yeah, Jaeger's a good dude, puts out good stuff. His channel continues to put out good stuff, and it's nothing mind-blowing, but it's a useful one, especially if you're wearing black rubber gloves. If you're one of the black rubber gloves type, oh, my first aid kit has black rubber gloves because I'm so tactical, then you might want to go actually talk to somebody who's looked for blood before. So next is Chris. Chris from the 740. And actually, I guess there's one in front of that, but I'll talk about Chris here since I saw that picture first. So Chris is doing chats on Wednesdays, and I didn't really know until a couple weeks ago. Now I started paying attention. So these happen kind of during match chats. And since match chats aren't really on topic or anything anymore, this one's potentially more interesting. Chris's chat was number 18, so I guess he's been doing it for a while. This one this week was about common or must-have tools for gun owners and builders, which was pretty good because he had a pretty full room. Did it say 200-something views, 800, 300 views almost? So, you know, it had a lot of views at the time. There was a full room, like 10-plus people, I think. And whatever questions they were going over or whatever, you got a lot of, perspective, a lot of facets when you get that many people in there. And they all seem to be actually participating. It's not one of those chats where 8 people are sitting there watching 2 people chat, which happens quite a bit. So yeah, pretty interesting chat. He's got over 1,000 subs now, so definitely consider checking that out. They're kind of a focus on reloading, competition shooting, and what gun did you buy kind of chats, but not just parked on the what gun did you buy. Definitely shooting and reloading and a lot of gun use in there too. Speaking of gun use, we got Dragon Man's in here, and Dragon Man is awesome. So we're going to be talking about the Williams Family Museum in a second, but Dragon Man is also awesome. You live in 2022, and a lot of people would go, oh, it's at the end of the Roman Empire, blah, 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 blah. But everybody else who's not an idiot is thinking about you live in 2022, which means you've got Dragon Man and the Williams Family Museum that you can have access to. And you don't even have to go to Dragon Man's. You can just watch the Dragon Man's channel and live vicariously through Dragon Man and his daughter. So, and the other people that go to Dragon Man's, I guess. So in this video, Dragon Man buys 5, 6, 7 full auto M16s off of some SOT that goes out of business. He mentions that, kind of talks about it. Now, Dragon Man is cool dude, but he doesn't know nothing about, well, he knows stuff, but he generalizes gun laws quite a bit. So don't go there for your gun law facts. But for the most part, he's not breaking laws. He's just generalizing things a lot. So basically, he buys a bunch of M16s off an SOT, a manufacturer who had built sample guns for whatever reason, decided not to renew their license, probably because of the war on FFLs that's being waged by the current ATF. So Dragon Man has these new M16s, and he takes them out to his private range. He's got a range that everybody can go shoot at. He's got a range that's like where he does the full auto rentals and stuff. He's got ranges that instructors and trainers can rent and have their classes in, and then he's got a paintball range, and then he's got other stuff. But this is his range, like his personal range out behind his house, I guess. And that's where he goes out and shoots his own stuff, and like in this case, test firing some things. So that was a pretty cool video. I don't think it's very long, but just cool to see Dragon Man up there being Dragon Man and sharing it with everybody. That means Dragon Man pays somebody to stand around with a camera watching Dragon Man do his thing. And he's not sensationalizing, he's just being Dragon Man. And we all get to participate in that by watching a video for a little while. So 190,000 subs, Dragon Man's awesome. Talked about Chris there. Now let's talk about barbecue. He probably doesn't show up for this show. Oh no, he's over here. So Barbecue is trying to help people out because that's the way he does things. So he had a giveaway type of situation going on for Tara, who smashed into something with a motorcycle. So in order to raise a couple of funds, raise some awareness, do kind of a morale boost, he did a thing, and I don't really pay attention because I didn't win, but I think that was on Tuesday, and I don't know who won. Somebody won, and I don't even know what they decided to win. Did we know? Did he announce that ever? But either way, I think I ducked out of that show before it was over, I think. But it's cool that Barbecue's out there doing that kind of thing. And, you know, occasionally we've got folks in the community that do those things. Next up is AR Guns, hosting all kinds of live conversations recently. Just had one earlier today, in fact. However, this one, I believe, the reason I put it in here is he's got some kind of new setup for his camera. And as far as kind of doing instruction or informative videos about reloading, it's just like a really good angle. It's as if you were sitting next to him at a bench. So it's not so close to the reloading press that that's all you're seeing, which would be good if you were really trying to see something in, you know, detail. But it's far enough away that you're seeing his whole movement or whatever. And then you see a portion of the counter, or I'm going to try to say his bench. So just a really good view. And I know he'd been kind of chatting about that in earlier shows, so I just thought that was a cool deal, especially considering that AR and Echo spend the majority of their time addressing points about reloading or featuring different calibers and what's, you know, what I mentioned, what you tweak on that particular caliber and stuff like that. Let's see. So next up is John Lott, has 1,900 subs, and he's been posting recently about some TV shows that are attempting to change the Overton window, attempting to change perception of firearms owners. So this one was Star Trek, and I don't know this Star Trek, but this is supposed to be Pike, I think. And I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was supposed to be Pike. And he's describing how World War III on Earth happens, and something like, I forget what he called us. He called us like the first, I forget what he called it, like the generation before the war, before the first extinction or something, like the first extinct generation or something. As if in this version of Star Wars, humans have gone extinct more than once because of wars. So whatever. And I guess they say the war happened because people questioned the vote. And that's in Star Trek. And that's in 32 seconds. So pretty annoying. Next up is Shep. I don't know if anybody's watching Shep. I feature his channel every once in a while. He basically just shows off his guns and shoots his guns and whatever. And I've been following his channel forever. He's showing off a Roe Wildcat. I don't know how you say that. Ray, right? I used to know how to say it. No, I don't know how to say it. Anyway, it's an interesting rifle, and maybe there'll be one like that for sale at auction soon. You never know. Barbecue saying the Patriot one. Oh, okay, cool. And then he's still thinking about it. Right on. So next up is Black Guns and Gardens, which is a channel I found. I'm not sure. I think it was recommended to me, and I'm a big fan of gardens and whatnot. And this one is just a 1-minute video. It could have been 2 seconds shorter, and it would have been a short. Should have made it a short because then they get more views on it. But using, what do they call them things? A tomato fence? No, what do you call it? Tomato. Anyway, the piece of hardware metal that you use. What do you call that stuff? I can't think of it. The fence thing that you put around a tomato. They put one around the cucumbers. And I guess I've seen people do that before, but I happen to have 2 squashes out back right now that are doing pretty good, but I didn't really know what to do with them. And now I'm thinking of definitely putting, is it a cage, a tomato cage? I'm going to put one of these cages around them and let them kind of, I don't know if they'll go up very high, but at least it'll these are the little yellow squashes. They grow good out here. It'll let them hang, right? So they're not sitting in the dirt or whatever. So anyway, thought that was a cool video. plug in a channel with 38 subscribers. So you want to go hang out and join a channel that's only got 38 subscribers. How often you get to be one of the first 50 subscribers on a channel? Speaking of the first 50 subscribers on a channel, I was one of the first 50 subscribers to the Williams Family Museum, which is a museum up in northern Nevada, which is a giant metal building, sort of like a shop or something that was all gutted out and cleaned out. And then Grandpa put his guns all around. So really nice displays on all the walls, floor to ceiling, tables all over the place with stuff spilling all over, giant collection of stuff, 1,500 guns. And the other day I was minding my business and they were at like 980 something subs. And I was like, you know what? I think we can 1,000 them. So we went ahead and 1,000-ed them. They took like half an hour or an hour and a half or something like that. And when we walked away, they got over 1,000 subs. So it worked. And I made a new playlist for the 1,000ings. So we've done 1,000ings now for Gizzard, for Barbecue, for Riding Shotgun with Charlie, and Williams Family Museum. So I don't know who will next, but I ain't done 1,000ing things yet. All right, next up is the Mouse Party. So I don't know if Foss is out here. Is Foss out here? He probably doesn't show up for this show. But that dude does a show on Wednesdays, and it's a non-topic, subject loose, subject fluid mouse party. It was pretty fun. All right, next we're getting into some of the military stuff. There's a little line here. I always put this little line to line off the stuff that's the military interviews. So I'm listening to more and more of these for a couple of reasons. One is they're good, and two is anybody who is pessimistic is an idiot. We have so many decent, awesome, able, enthusiastic, and dedicated public servants who've already served, who now after the global war on terror, whatever it's called, are looking at what's happening and going, all right, let's roll up our sleeves and do this again, except this time with pens instead of swords. We're about to see a lot of different stuff happening, and it isn't going to be people that went to college to learn how to learn how to be politicians or whatever. It's going to be people that did other things and then got out, right? So I've been really digging a lot of these interviews, and I'm not even kidding. Like now we're actually seeing people run for Congress, so we're going to see some differences here going forward. One of them is one of the people I've been watching isn't necessarily an interview show, although this is an interview that I'm talking about. Tactical Rifleman, a Green Beret off of the internet, off of YouTube, 697, almost 700,000 subs. And he does a couple of different things, nonstop, putting out content and doing stuff. And on Tuesdays, he has a show called Tactical Tuesday. It's basically the exact same time as Ghost. So watch a Green Beret or watch Ghost. So I watch the Army. So I'll watch Ghost silently, like on mute, while I'm watching the other one. But actually, he had no chance this week because it was an interview with Ronnie Barrett, the guy who invented the Barrett 50. So dude from Tactical Rifleman sat down at the gun shop that Barrett owns that's outside of the Barrett factory, hanging out with Barrett, and they chatted for 2 hours, but it gets better. So they start chatting, and there's a little bit of technical difficulty, so that makes all the little kids leave. It was excellent. All the little kids that would normally troll something, gone. And then once they figure out the technical thing, it's all good to go, and they have 2 hours worth of stellar conversation, right? And it's almost like annoying kid free because all the little kids left to watch other stuff on the internet. So they're talking about the development of the rifle and the inspiration and the invention. And then you get to the era where Ronnie Barrett had created the gun, had sold enough of them to improve it, right? To get it to the point where it was viable as a military candidate, but he was up against bolt actions with this semi-auto, and when you're trying to get snipers to accept it, that was a challenge, right? And he's not a military type, he's just some guy, right? Nobody told him he couldn't, so he just did. He's not anybody, he's just some guy from Kentucky, from Tennessee, that started making a 50 BMG semi-auto, right? So it gets to that era, and I'm thinking this is the 90s or 80s or something. This is the era when nobody has accepted or no one's confident with his rifle yet. Really cool interview. And then just to summarize, one of the cool things he talks about how, well, and then I guess the part that I was getting at is that he's talking about this era when the Barrett isn't yet like taken under the wing of the military. And the people who were doing the interview were in service at that time. And the dude who hangs out with tactical riflemen all the time is sniper instructor from back in the day. And he knows Ronnie from all this time and is familiar with this whole integration or the introduction of the Barrett's families into sniper and into special operations and stuff. So it was really, really, really cool. And then, for example, the Barrett, he wanted it to be a sniper rifle. Snipers aren't going to take it. So Pararescue, Air Force Pararescue takes it so that they can clear runways with it. You get the bad guys will throw a bunch of landmines down on your runway. Now you got a bunch of these landmines laying on your runway. If you go out and scoot them, they're going to blow up. So you got to do something. And so if you shoot them with a rifle, they're going to explode and make a divot out of your runway. So that's not going to work. You shoot them with a shotgun, same thing. You shoot them with a 50 BMG and they blow up before they blow up. They get blown to smithereens before the trigger mechanisms can blow them up. So they're an effective tool for anti-material, right? So those pararescue guys have them for that specific purpose if they're needed, because they can have anything they want. They might as well have any tool they might need. But now they're opening up these Barretts in front of guys in field instead of procurement officers theorizing with pencils and paper and sniper guys who, lived a whole different world with bolt actions. So now you get guys that are on the ground opening up, seeing a Barrett open up in front of them, and they have budgets that are unlimited, and they start saying, hey, what's going on with these Barretts? So it's just neat to hear that whole thing. Super interesting interview. It's 2 hours long. Free. You can just listen to it whenever you want. Super cool interview. Next up is Combat Story, which is he's a Apache pilot and CIA, and then he does the hour-ish format video conversations, usually focused on their combat experience, like it says, but then their lifestyle and their new things, how they transitioned out of the military and things like that. Now this guy who he interviews, Daryl Ut, I don't know how to say his name, was a Green Beret and then came out and started the Medal of Honor Museum. So, or I don't know if he started it, but he's the kind of the driving force of the Medal of Honor Museum Foundation. So that's pretty cool. The Medal of Honor Museum, if you don't know, had been intended to be built, but then all the stress of the last couple of years happened and kind of threw everything off kilter. So it's being built now. And that'll be a new museum. It might actually be built. I'm not sure where the thing is. I guess we can go look, but it's on the way if it isn't brand new. Then we have Team House, which is the Green Beret and some other guy, Ranger or something, who together interview people. And last week they interviewed a CIA guy, Rick Prado. Pretty cool interview. He was in a long time ago, did all kinds of interesting stuff, and I guess a lot of crazy stuff is said about him, so he kind of cleared a lot of stuff up. Really interesting interview. Not my favorite or nothing, but it was good. And then right now they're talking to a MARSOC guy, a Marine MARSOC. For me, it's pretty interesting because he's in the part that I listened to for about an hour here. They were talking about everything that Haas would tell me about when me and him drove around for half a year. I learned everything about MARSOC. Problem is, I have no idea what MARSOC is. So Marines tell you stuff and they go, oh, what the blah, 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 all these like abbreviations. I don't know any of them are. So, I got the gist of what he was telling me, but kind of got another summary of what all happened there. Basically, it's when recons turned into MARSOC. And if you're not a Marine, Patriot might know what I'm talking about. But if you're not a Marine, I understand that there was Force Recon, and then I understand that there's MARSOC. But in this video or this conversation that's happening right now over on the podcast called Team House, they're talking to a guy who was in and kind of got shuffled around, and then how that whole thing happened, how they all got divided up and to do their things and stuff. And like I say, it's super interesting because all these stories I heard from Haas were about these things, but little fragments, little windows and stuff. So it's kind of neat. It all lined a lot of stuff up for in my head. Anyway, those are the military ones that are happening now. Definitely a good week for it. I can't tell you how cool that Ronnie Barrett interview is. And we live in a time when you can go watch Dragon Man, go hang out at the Williams Family Museum channel for a little bit, and then go hear from Ronnie for like an hour talking about what it was like to his friends. It's like not just like some boring interview with somebody he's never met before. He's hanging out with people he knows, talking about the good old days. It's amazing. It's a good interview. It's really cool. Let's see. So then we get to our stuff that we did this week. Where are we at with time? So I think Gizzard is already probably porking us, but we're doing pretty good. I'll end it up here pretty quick. So our stuff for the week, we did quite a few things. We do, of course, the Daily Gun Show where we go live every weeknight at midnight. This show is part of that project. But in addition, we do other things. And one of them is some different series that we run. And one is the one popular one recently has been the maps. So we worked on the maps a little bit more, and there's a link to that one there. It is Friday, so it's Free Patch Friday. However, we didn't get very many purchases over at the store. If Barbecue is still out there, he's got a pick coming. Gizzard has a pick coming, but he's corking me, so he's probably not here. And then if Matt is out there, you don't technically get one, but if you're a Patreon, you can definitely have a spin or a roll, I guess. But we did offer some roll your own free patches today. Nobody really took us up on it. And some 80% patch kits also hit the store today. Maybe those will sell one day. And then let's see, we've had a blast from the past. Somebody had posted something about this AMD AK from a long time ago. Does it say how long ago? No. But I decided to throw that out on UGE Tube and over on where else do we put stuff? Over on GunTube, just to see how they would like this old video. Basically took the front vert grip off of a AMD 65, not a 60. Wait, an AMD 60. Now I'm trying to remember back in the day. It must be a 65 because I wrote 65 on there. But basically I took the front grip off and replaced it with just the little pinky extension that you put under a Glock grip or a Glock magazine. And that little, the thing that's normally just a replacement floor plate will give you enough to have like a hand stop or a hand rest. So it worked out pretty well. And it actually just used the same screw that the vert grip works on. So it's a 5-minute video doing that little modification or whatever. Let's see. So we've got a video from earlier in the week, from last week, when we were driving around Arizona and flew around the robot drone. So that's flying around, or we got some video of that flying around. And we've got a couple of things going up to auction over at the Pot of Gold auctions up in the Phoenix area, including this G kit. So if you want to check that out, feel free. There's a video up. There'll be more of them going up closer to the video or closer to the auction. All right, and then lastly, we got, like I said, this roll your own free patch. So Barbecue is pretty much the only one who's here, I think, that's got a free patch coming. Like I say, if Gizzard was here, he would. Or maybe I could just do that over in his show if I got a link. And then I don't think Matt is here. But with that, we'll jump over to the I already got it over here. We'll go over to the Instagram channel where we've got that patch thing. And Barbecue is still out here. Get ready to pick your free patch. Why don't you just pick your free patch, dude? There's no reason to roll any dice. If you got any interest in one of them, let me know which it is, and then it's your free patch. Makes it pretty easy when you're the only one participating. I posted what I thought was a pretty funny comment on your 80% patch bid. Oh, I didn't check it out yet. I basically started doing the screen captures and stuff for here. Like I say, I like to post this over on Patreon with all the pictures and stuff to make it a little easier, so that it's not like homework, so that it makes it more fun for me, but also makes it more useful for people. Maybe remember that, oh, the thing I'm looking for is the Virginia Citizens Defense League, so it's easy to see that logo there or whatever. But anyway, I just barely finished doing this right at the end of the show here. So with that, I guess I don't have to waste everybody's time waiting for Barbecue to respond. But again, thanks to people who do participate in what we do out here. It allows us to continue to do what we do. with that, Gizzard is live after this. Tomorrow, Brooke is going to be doing something, I suspect. Maybe recorded, maybe live. She'll be shooting at a thing called the Aiming for Zero, which is a shooting event that happens, well, I think more than annually, but she's going to a big shooting event, which is to create awareness for veteran suicide. Brooke is the one that I mentioned does the weekly focus on suicide awareness and prevention. And this particular shoot is one that she's participating in that's focused on the veteran side of suicide. Now, of course, I'm not going to get into it. There's lots of different ways to find data on that, but veterans are a big portion of those numbers. And again, we can act like it's somehow the fault of the implement, or we could work on the causes and work to prevent that. And then the result would be that we'd have less veterans choosing that path. So with that, I'll leave you there. Thanks everybody for showing up. And thanks to Brooke for not just the consistent focus on that, but then also participating in the shoot. She's been getting ready and doing some different content on her channel to tell people about what it's been like getting ready for the competition side of it, the practicing and the like auditing her times and things to develop her, what she needs to practice, I guess, to focus on what she needs to practice on. So it's all been pretty neat. With that, I guess I should have remembered that we have a poll over here. So with 12 votes, let me grab the results. I can stick them into the comments later or into the description later. But the results of the poll are how this week was for 2A. Everybody says it was a great week. Some people said it was a good week, and then a very few people said it was an okay week. Nobody else matters. With that, thanks everybody for showing up. Oh, let's see. I have the blue and white hash tacticals already, so once I have the black one, I'll just have to find the ultra rare fourth tactical to complete the set. So you're saying you want the hash tactical off of that list? You got it. All right, good stuff. I'll check out the Barrett interview. Yeah, I think you'll like it, Patriot. And you may enjoy this one that's happening on the Team House. They're Army dudes, but they interview Marines dudes. And this MARSOC one, I mean, like I say, you probably know about it more than I do, but this one's pretty interesting, just hearing a rundown of how it went from Force Recon into MARSOC. Kind of just the units got renamed, shuffled kind of thing. Pretty interesting. All right, with that, I'm going to quit saying that, and we'll end it.
Tonight's episode, The Ripoff.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. So let us know what you think. We'll be watching the comments wherever you find the video, over on Gunstreamer.com or on GunTube.org.
Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourages you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching GunWebsites.com.